American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? It is international break. We needed it. You don't always ask for it, sir. It's been tough going without my beloved Manchester United to watch twice a week. But this is the first time in a long time where I can honestly say American Red Devils a little less so, but Manchester United certainly needed a break. We've been playing a ton of games since the World Cup. Some of the boys are enjoying their holiday. Some of the boys are getting sent home early from England. Shout out Shaw. And some of the boys are scoring goals. McTominay with a brace. Casemiro scored yesterday. Sabitzer with a brace. You love to see it. Players that want to get into the side week in, week out. But really, the big question, I was like, what do you do when there's no football on? It's like you wake up on the weekend, get nothing to watch, nothing to follow.
It's desperate times.
Stuff around the house, I guess. How we doing? How we feeling?
Desperate times for football-loving fans. Look, I'm fine with international breaks, but play for something. You know, when it comes to these like friendlies, after we had the Winter World Cup, I'm kind of tapped out on international football, especially if it doesn't matter. Now, that's just me being a selfish Manchester United fan. I want to see the Reds playing, but the lads needed a rest. They needed a break. Marcus going to NYC. Varane going to watch the France team, and you're starting to see some youngsters, some big caps for some young Manchester United players, which is it's exciting. Key players getting a rest. Eriksen on the mend. Strong push for Manchester United. We have 2 trophies up for grabs. We're hungry for trophies. We're thirsty for signings, and we're desperate to get the Glazers out of this club. This international break, the bidding war, everything you're having to pay attention to that you don't want to at Manchester United, but it's so critical. Manchester United's up for sale, and there's a lot of rumors, a lot of bad information on social media, people saying they're plugged in the process when they're not.
Incredible stuff.
Kind of a mess of an international break, honestly. It just, international break games don't matter, and there's too many rumors about the takeover. I just want to get back to Ten Hag on the touchline, wearing those turtlenecks. The bald master, the madman, cooking it up for Manchester United.
The real question is, as the temperature rises in England, is he going to stick with the turtleneck that is proven to be such a good fit, especially over the last couple of months? We've had some great results. It's going to get hot. That turtleneck look doesn't work as well when it's 30 degrees Celsius out. You rock the blazer? He
rocks the turtle.
He did the blazer with the polo shirt earlier in the season when it was warm out. So we'll see what Erik ten Hag opts for. But sorry, Showtime Reds. There's always something going on in Manchester United. There's so much going on right now, even though it's international break when it usually be dull. You got all of England talking about star boy Marcus Rashford enjoying himself in New York. Why not? Gareth Southgate doesn't rate him. We certainly rate him. So he's getting a break. Like I said, Shaw got sent home because he got a red card in the first game of, is it Euro qualifiers? Is it friendlies? Hard to say. And then players who need a rest.
Nations League qualifiers?
Maybe. Who knows? Casemiro. He's the new captain of Brazil, and the players who need a true mend, right? Eriksen's one day closer every day to getting back on the pitch. Same with Garnacho. A lot to look forward to after we get through this break. Big game on the following weekend against Newcastle, and then it's going to be busy like it has been for the rest of the season. A lot to play for. EPL, top 4, very much up for grabs. It's not a sure thing yet. I can't wait for football to come back.
We've definitely played ourselves into a top 4 race. We wanted a race. We're getting the race we didn't want, and it's going to be for top 4. And that is a huge match against Newcastle. Coming back from international break. The wheels are kind of wobbling going into international break. Is the rest going to help, or are we going to be retooled, refocused? Is it going to be too much? Is Newcastle, they've been on the bounce. Eddie Howe's men, Bonesaw FC, working hard. It's going to be a tough fight game. It's a big game for Manchester United. You put a stamp on that one. Top 4 is almost locked up with the Newcastle 3 points. It's a huge match, one that we can't underrate. Well, so for international break at the American Red Devils, we're going to be breaking that down this Thursday. And for this podcast, Alex did an extra special interview with Stan Chow, friend of the pod. We're going to be getting to that shortly. On the other side, we're getting to some news and some polls I've been running on Twitter. So, sir, how about you give an intro to this interview?
A man who needs no introduction if you follow the American Red Devils. Stan Chow, he's a Manc. He's a world-famous graphic designer and artist. And he is a great friend of the pod, and we're grateful to have him on once again. He did the album cover for the American Red Devils and the most recent iteration with us lifting EFL glory. And we really appreciate. Here is his latest thoughts on everything going on with Manchester United. We talked about CR7. And of course, we talked about the bald fraud, our bald fraud, Eric Ten Hag. Here is me and Stan Chow. Welcome to the pod. We have an extra special guest this week. We have the one and only, the world famous illustrator and artist, Sir Stan Chow, diehard Manchester United fan, Mank through and through, and most importantly, fan of the pod. Stan, it's great to have you back on the pod. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's been 2 years, I think. So, but yeah, it's nice to chat to you again.
Lots changed in 2 years. How's your year been going? How's everything going in the UK? And what's the word these days in Manchester?
Well, it's all good, admittedly, we're going through like a economic situation in the UK. I'm sure that's kind of happening in the US as well. But all in all, I'd say it's pretty good. Pretty good. Not very good, but pretty good. It's not a disaster.
We'll take that.
I can still feed my kids. I still got a roof over my head. So, I'm not died from COVID. So it's kind of, so it's pretty good.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. We're going to keep it nice and light. It's going to be all football today. Okay. Before we jump into United, I'm curious because we haven't talked in a while. What'd you make of last year's World Cup? Both from
I thought the final was incredible. The final was one of the best games I've ever seen. I think but the World Cup on the whole, despite all the kind of controversy, the football was really good. I watched some great games. But yeah, but when it came down to the final, can't think of a better final than that. I've watched all the finals since 1982 now, so it's that's it's right up there.
And what'd you make of the format? I think the fact that they didn't travel was unique this time, right? Everything was within like 40 miles. Yeah. And at the same time, I'd love to get your opinion before we get into United about England's performance, some of the lads that did or did not feature, and just your thoughts about how the Lions did in the last World Cup.
Well, in terms of England, I thought I was disappointed, to be honest with you, and I think only for one reason, where Marcus Rashford was underplayed. He came into the actual World Cup on good form, and then whilst he was during the World Cup, he ended up with the best minutes per goal ratio for any player, and then they didn't play him in the quarterfinal, and that's kind of what's going on? I gave him 5 minutes in the quarterfinal, and that's kind of I thought was a really strange decision by the manager. It was where he looked like he was going to score every opportunity he was getting, and he just didn't. Give him 5 minutes in that game. It was that's a really big managerial boo-boo, if you ask me.
It's a good point. Do you I do want to move to United, but do you rate Southgate as a manager long term? Do you think he's the guy?
As a person, I think he's a really good diplomat. I think his diplomacy skills are fantastic. And even I guess he's got some good managerial clout, but it's a tricky one with England. You could probably have the best manager in the world and still do badly. You felt like when Fabio Capello was England manager, he would do amazing things, but not even he could change things. So it's I think the problem with international football is there's so little trophies to go for. So basically you can have 60 countries who are going to be disappointed. So that's why you shouldn't be too negative on the manager. Because it's there's only one trophy to play for, and the trophy from your continent. Someone's going to be disappointed. That's the way I kind of look at things. But he did so well in the previous cups. In the European Championship, we could have won, but we lost in the penalties. So it's kind of you can't be too disappointed by saying he's a bad manager because of like a couple of things. I mean, I think it was a mistake, but everyone makes mistakes, you know.
No, well said. Still hard for me to get over Marcus being left out so much, but it seems
yeah.
to have propelled him on after the
Absolutely.
World Cup. Getting into United, Stan, what were your expectations heading into the season, and how do you think the season has gone so far?
Well, my expectations were, a trophy in top four, and I think that's what we're heading for. You know, getting third place would even be better. You know, maybe two more trophies. But yeah, no, it's kind of. I'm not saying what's happening now. I think the season's been going great. Obviously, we've been, and generally like the buzz is back in at Old Trafford. And but like but yeah, no, I don't think we're overachieving at the moment. I think we're just kind of. This is kind of like what we're expecting now. You know. But yeah, no. But if we win two more trophies, that'll be. Is that you?
Sorry, that's my wife in the car. The pod room is connected to the garage, so I apologize.
No, yeah. But if we win two more trophies, that'd be fantastic. You know, so far we won the League Cup, and if we stay third place, we'll be pretty happy. You know, but hopefully next season we'll kick on more. But yeah, chance for the FA Cup, chance for the Europa League. You know, you're not gonna knock them, are you, if we win them?
No, 100%, and we're in it. We're going quarterfinal to one, semifinal to the other, won a piece of silverware. What's your impression of Erik ten Hag? Was he the manager you wanted in the first place? Do you think he's like no nonsense approach is what United needed since the departure of Sir Alex?
Well, admittedly, I didn't know much about him in the first place. It's kind of like he did well at Ajax, and like any manager who manages Ajax, you expect to do well. It's as simple as that because it's Ajax. But since he's been here, I think he's no nonsense, his discipline is all been good. He's kind of set ground rules and everyone's abiding by them. I think the players are abiding by it, and because of that, it's strengthened the dressing room. I think you can see the togetherness of the team now, and that's what he's somehow created. I think as much as some people love Ronaldo, the fact that he got rid of him, or basically Ronaldo got rid of himself really, but the fact that he's gone, kind of he's galvanized the team more. But I think his no nonsense is one of his best qualities. His discipline.
And before we get into Ronaldo, was he the man you wanted, or did you have another name in mind last summer, or was it probably late spring by the time they picked someone?
You know what? I'm glad we're doing it at Conte. Because everyone was after Conte for a bit. I mean, I would have been okay with Pochettino. But again, it's I didn't know enough about Ten Hag to say he was definitely the manager I wanted. It's really tricky to know, what good managers are available. Really, he's kind of you would say Guardiola and Klopp last season were the best two managers, and we weren't going to get them. So yeah, I think I wouldn't say he was the one I wanted because I couldn't tell you who I wanted to be honest with you. But I'm glad that we have got him.
No, 100%. Well said. It's a good point because you never know what you're going to get until you have it. Moving on to the next topic, which is Ronaldo. We'll talk about this, then we'll move on. But did you have any concerns about Ronaldo returning this season after he said he was in early in the summer, and then when we were kind of slow on the transfer market, then he started positioning that he wanted out fully. I think that by mid-July he wanted full out. Were you worried going into the season, given that he's Cristiano Ronaldo, if he's going to be discontent, with a new manager and trying to come back?
Well, I think even towards the end of last season, to be honest with you, I wish he was out. Even though he scored the most goals, people talk, but you just knew he affected the way the rest of the team played. In my opinion, I think if Ronaldo hadn't even joined United, Ollie would still be manager. You know, I think like because you got to look at the season before Cristiano joined. We came second, and like and we were literally, you know, we were a team kind of on the up. I felt, you know, but it's when Cristiano, you know, changed our system, the way we played. I think it affected everyone, and we know it kind of affected the dressing room. You know, there was a massive rift. It created two sides. It was like Team Maguire and Team Ronaldo, and yeah, it was kind of like that just caused a rift in the dressing room, and basically we just don't need that really. It affects the players on the pitch ultimately.
No,
So
100%. What about Stan? Let's talk about it. What about what you make of that Piers Morgan interview? And you think Ronaldo? You think he damaged his legacy at Manchester United long term?
I think it's just not just his legacy at Man United. You know, I think it just damaged his total legacy. You know, I think like, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I don't, you know, he's a classic narcissist, really. You know, and it's really hard for me to say because I loved him. You know, I thought, you know, it's like United. He's arguably one of the greatest players that's ever played at Man United. You know, he's top 2 or 3 really, and yeah, and when he joined Real Madrid, I found it really difficult to watch Real Madrid because he was playing for them, and he wasn't just playing for them. He was playing out of his skin. It's like
Right.
all of a sudden, it's like Real Madrid had a player for another 8 seasons who was arguably the best player in the world. The United kind of created him, but then gave him sold him to Real Madrid, where ideally, you know, it would have been great if he was spent a few more seasons at Man United, really.
No, that was a pivotal summer, right? 2009. They sold him for a record fee, 80 million pounds,
Yeah.
I believe, to Real Madrid, and then obviously United didn't spend a lot of that.
Oh yeah, we bought Michael Owen
and Overton. So
Can't remember who else. Cleverson. You know.
Gabriel Oberton was like that French
Oh, yeah,
winger with a shaved head who didn't quite make it.
No.
But anyway, back to the positives. You know,
Yeah.
what did you make of our signings last summer, and who do you think has had the biggest impact? And then who do you think still needs to impress?
Well, you know what? Oh my God, you know, Casemiro, right? You know, we knew he was good, and like, I don't think he was that good. You know, I don't think he'll ultimately change, like, you know, change the kind of what's the word? The confidence in the team. You mean he literally, you know, he's the driver, he's the heartbeat of the team, really. You know, and like not sure how he fitted in the Real Madrid team. You know, I think like I just saw him as your kind of like a very kind of what's the word? Consistent defensive midfielder. You mean, but coming to United, he's a talisman. Really, you know, it's amazing how you know, like when he's not playing, the team feels so weak. You know, it's a massive drop off in the levels when he's not playing. So yeah, so Casemiro is like head and shoulders like well the player that surprised me the most. You know, I didn't know much about Lisandro Martinez, but he's fantastic. You know, I mean he's like he's so good on the ball. You know, and it's like I've never seen a central defender at Man United since Rio, basically, who's so comfortable on the ball, and like his passing's like incredible. You know, he's passing through the lines. His vision is like you don't expect a central midfielder, a central defender, sorry, to have that ability really, but he's got that, and it's yeah, it's great. You know, and he's hard as nails. You know. He just he gets stuck in. There's no messing. You know, he's almost like he's like a Roy Keane stroke Paul Scholes, but they put him in centre defence. You know, he's got that kind of like that aggression that you want from like that you remember from Roy Keane. You know, and he's not as good a passer as Paul Scholes, but for a central defender. He's probably the best passer of the ball I've seen, you know, And so he's so yeah, in those terms he's terrific. And Anthony, well, he's probably not there yet. There's some, I mean, like obviously Ten Hag knows him well enough to see something that's there, but I've seen enough in him to think that there's just a little, as soon as it clicks, he's gonna be amazing. I think he's kind of like Rashford last season.
You think
know
so?
what I mean? Yeah, I think like this is gonna be just something's just gonna he's gonna work something out in his head, and it's just gonna go boom. You know what I mean? It's gonna literally like raise him to another level, because I've seen him close up enough times, literally like on pitch level, to say there's something there that there isn't available in the rest of the United like front line. It's his aggression, the fact that he works hard. I mean, he is one trick Tony, but but it's a good trick, 7 or 8 goals, and it's so I think so I do hear a lot of people down on him, but I'm just thinking there's something really special there, and we wouldn't have spent that much money on him if there wasn't,
No, the manager, he has an eye for what he is looking for, and sometimes he's not afraid to pay top dollar. I want to bring back to one of them, though. I'm interested that you said that Martinez felt like Keane. I felt like Casemiro has this player that we'd been all told, right? He's a great CDM, plays for Brazil. He was the back three of behind Kroos and Modric, but those guys were obviously way, way better. And then he comes to United, and I feel like he's had more of a free role.
Yeah.
And he feels like like all action, can do everything, super aggressive, right? Leader. Obviously, he's not the captain, but he has those leadership qualities. Do you get the same impression on the ground? You're seeing a lot of games week in, week out. We don't get the same benefit over in the States. But I'd love to get your impression on him, because he's blown me away, like you said. I feel like he's one of the best midfielders in the league.
Well, I think it's the best signing Man United have made since Robin van Persie. I mean, like if we can get, the bad thing about Robin van Persie, we only got one good season out of him.
Right.
Hopefully, we can get like 2 or 3 like really good seasons out of Casemiro. But yeah, no, he's a leader. You know what I mean? It's like, but in terms of his aggression, he does it in a kind of in a way that in a stealth way. You know, where like comparing to like Lissandro's aggression, he's like bang. You know what I mean? Where Casemiro's aggression is kind of like, he just is more like he's good at like being at the right place at the right time, really. And I think that sense is more like Carrick, really. Where like in terms of intercepting play, he's you find him in the right place to kind of at least kind of stop the forwards from getting past him. Getting to United's back four. So I think his positioning's incredible, but also his passing range as well is like, we didn't even know about that really. And it's like, I remember I think it's the second game that the through ball to Ronaldo like against Everton is like, wow, I didn't know we had that kind of player in us. You know what I mean? In him, and like him. But yeah, he's and the way he kind of like he will tackle and pass at the same time. He'd be like, it's like, whoa, I've never seen that before, and that changes like the play so quickly. It was like it was like, whoa, all of a sudden like we're on the back foot and then neck bang. He's like, you tackle and basically the ball would just like go flying to an attacker immediately, and that's something I've not seen really before, or like in the United midfield. So yeah, so
no, it's a great point, right? Because that transition, right? He gets the ball back, and then all of a sudden he's passing it forward direct through the lines. What about his red cards? There's been some crazy VAR calls this season. It's been all over the place. United has gotten some good ones, right? That City game, that that pseudo offsides. I think we got a good break there, and then obviously there's probably too many bad ones for us to go through on this pod. But I don't think he'd ever gotten a straight red in his senior career, and now he got 2 in the last couple of months. What do you think about that?
Well, I felt the Crystal Palace one was pretty harsh. There was like, he wasn't, even though in one camera angle it looked like he was strangling the player, but he wasn't though. It's just basically like the referee got given the wrong camera angle, basically. Because if it was like the eye view or the player's angle, he wasn't strangling him at all, you know. So I thought that was really harsh. I mean, I think like but you know, but then I thought the who was it against?
Southampton.
Southampton. That was unlucky. You mean? I thought like, I mean, it was reckless. He deserved the red card, but it was an unlucky red card. You mean? There are unlucky red cards. You mean? Which is the harsh thing about football. You mean? He probably was just, you know. He probably didn't deserve a 4-match suspension. That's the thing. You mean? Even though it was a red card, that's the harsh thing. That's the harsh thing about the red card rules in the Premier League. He's like doesn't deserve a 4-match suspension, but hey ho, there you go. You mean?
It's the nature of the game these days. What about VAR? I feel like VAR was kind of okay. Obviously, you get some errors, but I feel like this season it's been all over the place. Like week to not even just United. There's like you watch Chelsea game and then these high studded whatever. I think João Felix got like studded the day before Casemiro got his second red card. And it just feels like it's so volatile, so inconsistent. But I'd love to get your thoughts about VAR. Should they keep it around? Should they scrap it? Should they change it?
I think as a rule, like VAR is a good thing. You know what I mean? I think we need it because if we don't have it, we'll have other arguments. It's like bloody hell, did the referee miss that? And that was definitely like a 5-match suspension red. You mean? So I feel we definitely need VAR. We just need to kind of at least sort the rules out, and also have better like referees actually like looking at VAR basically. You mean? Yeah, I think like it's still early. You mean? It's only like the third season, and like I feel like we need definitely like a better training basically. And also clearer rules. That some of the handball rules in VAR just kind of like just don't make any sense really. So that annoys me. It's stuff like the Martinez handball against Sociedad earlier this season was like that is not and the fact that the referee went to look at it, it's like that's not a red. No, it's not a penalty basically. So I feel like the clarity of rules. And maybe sometimes the referee shouldn't have that decision. It should actually be given to actually someone even higher up, basically. But obviously, we want to reduce the time, like spent looking at VAR. But don't get me wrong, when I'm actually in the pitch, in the ground, somehow like I get quite excited about VAR decisions. It's kind of like there's a new kind of like they annoy people, but there's also creates a new kind of tension that in the ground which we never had before. So, and I think it's just, I guess it's something we have to get used to. The changing rules is we always get used to it. Whatever rule change comes in, will always take 3 or 4 seasons before this is and like that's the nature of football really and sport really. I'm sure even in the NFL, every time there's a rule change, everyone just goes ballistic for a season or two, and then it's fine. Everyone gets used to it.
It's a great point because you made a couple of good points, which is that it's so early in infancy, so we have to be a little bit patient. They're going to figure it out because NFL, when they did video replay over the last 10, 12 years, they had a lot of issues, right? What's a catch? What's a whatever? What's a down? Do you think that they should have the same crew do VAR week in, week out, like a central team in London or wherever that does games consistently? Because the way they're doing it now is just like it's different refs every game week, and maybe that leads to a lack of consistency.
Well, it's logistically going to be really difficult, really, I guess. But who knows? I don't know if that's the best way. It's not something I ever thought about really. But like, but having said that, I'd say the more refs and just train them up better. Basically, that's all really. It's not like different refs, different opinions. It's just kind of if you kind of like train them up better, like at least kind of certain thresholds for certain things. I don't know what exactly those changes will be. But but I think once you made things clearer, then then it'll be easier for the referees basically.
No, I think that's a great point. What about the reemergence of Marcus Rashford? Did you see him reaching these heights this season? And how good do you think he can get? And most importantly, when's he going to sign a new contract?
Oh yeah. Well, I think I never lost faith in Marcus. I mean, like I was so aware that like for a couple of seasons he was injured, and then like a man, the abuse he got after the European Championships. If it doesn't affect anyone mentally, then they're not human, really. I mean, I think like he was so mentally affected by the way he was treated by everyone, actually, from Southgate to the press to the fans. When you got all these people treating you so badly, then you kind of gotta, you'd be inhuman if it didn't affect you. And I think like and I think so I knew once he got over that, it'll be we will see the player he was potentially going to be. But having said that, I don't think he'll be this good. And I don't think he'll be this good. And at the same time, I think he'll just get better, really. Because he's 25. He's not peaked yet.
No, he hasn't.
And it's like he's probably got I don't know, like he's got 4 or 5 really good seasons in him, I reckon. And like but I can see him getting better, and I can see him maybe knocking 40 goals a season next season.
I'd love that. We need goals on this side. And he's just fun to watch these days. I was rewatching the first leg of the Betis game, and he had that first goal that the ball just kind of fell in the box in the 6th minute, and he went around the defender and just slammed it top in. And I didn't even know he had that in his locker, because I never seen a goal like that from him.
Yeah. Well, I think I haven't seen him as a young kid. He had everything in his locker, like even as a young kid. He just never couldn't pull it all together consistently, And but now he's got his upper body strength. Is just like he looks different. You know what I mean? He looks like about 5 inches wider than he did last season. And like, but you can tell now when he's chasing the ball now, he's like he'll try and kind of like nudge the defender away from the ball before he gets to the ball now. His body he can rely on his body strength now, and it's and that's just added to his game. But in terms of like what I felt from seasons gone, I thought he had everything in his locker. And like he just couldn't consistently put it together, really. And
he looks happy. He certainly looks happier that we've seen him a while. Looks confident, and the whole team looks like it's developing an edge. Maybe it's because of the coach. Maybe it's because of some of the leaders that were brought in. The fact that they're winning consistently. They won some silverware for the first time since Jose is okay. We have heard very little news on this contract. We've heard some about Garnacho. We've heard some about De Gea, but it's been pretty quiet on Marcus and his new contract. What are you hearing on the ground? Is it trending positively? Because this one worries me a bit because he's unplayable at the moment.
Well, admittedly, I've not heard much, but I can't imagine him going anywhere else. To be honest with you, like he's basically Manchester from head to toe. And to be honest, now is like, who is he going to join?
Right.
Who can he join? Because it's like, okay, he can join. Okay, Barcelona, Real Madrid is like the La Liga is so weak now. It's like, why would you want to? Why would you want to like play in that league at the moment?
Paris.
When well, that's it. Paris. There's it's a one-team league. There's in terms of competition, the Premier League is at the moment now is just it's too far ahead of any other league. You wouldn't contemplate leaving the Premier League. And if he leaves to a Premier League team, he's not going to join City or Liverpool, is he? So right now he's like he's at the best club you could you could be at, really. And I think what the situation is probably he has one fee in mind in terms of his weekly pay packet, and Man United have their what they think, and there's
a
nowhere
gap.
near each other. Yeah, you know. But yeah, I think he should be. I think he should. He's earned the right to be the highest paid player at United right now. I think, if not the second highest. You know, in my opinion.
No, totally. Especially when Jadon Sancho's on $350 a week. We gave De Gea $375, and that contract's finally coming to a close this year. But he's earned the right to be up there, $400K a week, whatever it is, because he deserves it. Another player who is very polarizing. We talked about Anthony, who's been polarizing, I think more so for neutral fans, because they love to hate on United, of course. They love to rate our high-end transfer players, even no one's talking about that Ukrainian player from Chelsea who was more expensive.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on our Dutch giant Wout Weghorst? Are you a fan or not so much?
Okay, well, I guess there's two school of thoughts, really. You know what I mean? In terms of his own technical ability, he's not really good enough to be a United player, really. I mean, okay, he's good enough to be a squad player at best. You know what I mean? But what he has is like he's got character. He bloody runs. He works harder than everyone else. You know, and the important thing is like since he's been in the team, United have scored more goals. You know, so you can't argue with. Him. His personal stats aren't probably great, but in terms of the system of the team, it makes it function better. Really, Martial isn't fit. I guess if Martial was fit, he will be starting. But right now is like we don't have a fit number 9, so he'll have to do. I think what he's doing now, like considering his limited abilities, is fantastic. But because he's playing literally like. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity here to play for one of the biggest teams in the world. He's making the most out of it. He's really enjoying himself, and I think that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of like what I'm trying to say. It's good to have in your team when it's better to have a player who fits the system and is actually happy.
Right.
Than someone who doesn't fit the system and who isn't happy. Who's really good as well. The fact is like he doesn't have the he's got no pace, for goodness sake.
He has
I've
no
never
pace.
seen a player slow in my life.
He's slower than Harry Maguire.
Yeah, but the thing is like he makes the team work like up front. And I can't complain. We do need a better player. There's no two ways about that. But for what we got, he's not bad.
And you nailed it, Stan. Which is like at the end of the day, the most important thing for any player is to be fit and available. And we've all been rooting for Martial for what now, 5, 6, 7 years. We all want him to come off. We know how talented of a player is, but he's just got one of those track records like a Phil Jones, where Eric Bailly or Louis Saha. It's like he just can't stay fit, and because he can't stay fit. You can't play. I mean, you can't play professional football really if you're only available every 4th day. So that being said, if you got in some extra strikers this year, and we'll talk about that in a second, would you keep Wout around? I mean, he certainly has. The one thing you can't fault him for, he's got a lot of heart, and he loves playing for Manchester United. And after some of the bad players, not bad players, but players that have gone, sour with us over the last 10 years, it's good to have someone that certainly gives a shit.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. I think he's good for the dressing room, it seems. And I think as long as he's happy knowing he's not a starter, then great, have him. And it's like, I think he'll be happy being I think he was brought in knowing that he wasn't going to be a regular starter. So, and the fact that he's a regular starter now, he must be over the moon. So I think we, if Burnley are happy to sell him to us, and the fee is good, then I'll take him. Because it gives us another option, really. I think if we ever decide to play a slightly different style, and he offers a different option, and obviously for most of the time it's worked this season.
No, it's true. I didn't see. I saw the stat. I couldn't believe it. He started 18 straight games.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
Insane. I mean, obviously, this manager, He plays some favorites. He got boys that he likes to play week in, week out. Wout's one of them. You can see why, right? He works really hard. He presses really hard. He runs a lot. End product's not quite there. I'm skipping ahead. United need a striker this summer. That's like the number one priority. I think most fans would agree. Obviously, money is a big concern, and we'll talk about the sale in a little bit. But who do you want? We've had a couple of names touted that I know you know, but who would your preference be in a reasonable basis? A player's not available, like excluding Mbappe and Haaland. Who would you like to see?
You know what though? I don't really have that strong feelings here. You mean because if you read online, it's Harry Kane or Victor Osimhen,
right?
And out of those two, I'll go for Harry Kane purely because I think he'll score for another 3 or 4 seasons, and he in a league that he knows. Victor Osimhen, he'll do really well, obviously, but unlike Haaland, he'll probably score a ton of goals. But I just feel like, half of me feels like Harry Kane and Man United are like a fit made in heaven. That's like I don't love Harry Kane, but I know how brilliant he is. I think he's pretty boring as a character, but I don't care. That doesn't matter. I think if he does, I think he's a phenomenal footballer, and I think and I always felt that he would look good in a United shirt. But I'll tell you another player who's caught my eye recently is Evan Ferguson, the Brighton player.
The Irishman who's a young lad, right? He's 18, I think.
He looks like the kind of player who we should snap up, really. I think everyone can see his qualities, really, and he is like dare I say it, like a young Irish Haaland. I think he's got a lot of goals in him, I think, that boy. And he's huge as well. God, he's 18 and he's huge, and he's just going to get bigger and stronger. And I like the look of him.
No, he would be a great compliment. I think the problem is like Brighton, they're doing unbelievable recruitment at the moment. Yeah. You would love to be able to snatch him up. Back in the day, you could probably get him for like 15, 20. And now that fee would be 2 to 3x. I like the Harry Kane talk as well because I agree with you. I was an Osimhen guy. I was like, oh, he's younger, he's faster. But at the end of the day, we need to win. We have a team that's a couple pieces away from winning now, right? We have players that are at the top and are only going to get, unfortunately, they're going to get worse because of their age, right? Casemiro, Varane, Bruno's probably at like peak player. He's playing really well. De Gea is not going to get better. You bring in Kane, he could be like an RVP in terms of his ability to score goals, and he doesn't have to be a huge personality because we have a lot of personalities. A lot of the players I just mentioned have, they have that dog in them. We talk about that on the pod a lot, right? That Casemiro, Martinez for sure have dog for days. So I feel like if Kane joined, he would love playing for Manchester United after playing for soft serve Spurs for a decade now.
And I think he's ready made. You know what I mean? I think United have a system that can work around like Harry Kane. You see at the moment, where with Osimhen we have to kind of work him in. You mean we need to develop the different line again. Where I think Harry Kane will immediately can slot straight in there, and he'll know exactly what to do. Well, I don't think Victor Osimhen will have to work on him basically, to kind of get him to kind of work well with the rest of the players. Where Kane knows Rashford so well already that it's those two combining, like we've seen in the World Cup with those two combining, they're exceptional, and this makes it even, going back to our conversation before, this makes it even more bewildering why Rashford didn't play more often.
100%, because Kane's hold-up play is really good, his passing's good, and then imagine United with Marcus Rashford on the left, Harry Kane up front, and then either Anthony or Sancho on the right. You can miss Garnacho on the left. I feel like he would bang in goals, just score them left, right, and center. And we could get him. You would think, Levy's a pain in the ass to negotiate with, but he is in the last year of his contract. We're hearing rumors that he wants out. And United, like in the same way Marcus Rashford has nowhere to go, that makes sense. I feel like Kane has he wants to stay in the league, right? He wants to beat Scherer's all-time EPL record for goals Manchester United, like he gets to win trophies and he probably score as many, if not more goals than he scored at Spurs.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything there. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I mean. He's ready made for Man United.
He's one of those players that I wasn't convinced about, but the more we talk about it, the more I'm convinced. Like right now we got to go for the title next year, and he'd be a big help because he knows the league. Speaking of which, David De Gea, how do you handle him going forward? He's shown the best of De Gea and the worst of De Gea this season. Not as bad on the glaring mistakes, but shot stopper, he's elite. One of the best shot stoppers in the game, I would say, if not the best. But this manager likes to play out the back. He likes to play with the goalie the ball at his feet, and De Gea, his passing's all over the place. How would you handle him moving forward? I know the contract is in flux. It seems like he is going to get a new contract at a reduced rate, but how would you handle the Spaniard and the goalie position at United long term?
Well, I think the situation is there. Okay, there isn't a better shot stopper, right? But but what we need is to actually kind of at least pinpoint a goalkeeper who is probably just as good, if not better. But also is there a goalkeeper who, there aren't many great goalkeepers around available at the moment. To be fair, I think that's the main issue. It's like once we've kind of targeted the right goalkeeper, then maybe let De Gea go. But right now, we haven't targeted one yet. I don't think. Who is as good as a pass of a ball like Edison or Alisson? I can't. There probably are some, but we haven't actually. Once we got. I think we'll let David go once we pinpointed a dead-on goalkeeper. I think he probably could have gone easy earlier, but with Dean Henderson, we were still kind of 50-50 with him.
Right.
Like a couple of seasons, but the thing is, if we knew Dean Henderson was was going to be a definite starter, then easily let David go. But we haven't got a replacement yet, so it just depends on the replacement, really. And I think De Gea is kind of comfortable with having a reduced salary for next season. I think that's been he said that on record. He's kind of that he's kind of happier to he didn't he says he doesn't deserve to be the highest paid player. That doesn't mean he's happy to kind of have a reduced salary. But if they can kind of agree a salary, then we should keep him. I think
100%. He got away with one with that $375 a week, but that's on Ed Woodward. Speaking of which, let's talk about the sale quickly. What are your thoughts? Do you think United will be sold, and if so, do you have a preferred buyer?
Well, I think United will be sold. It's kind of it's gone too far now. I think for it not to be sold. There's the last I heard, there were eight different parties bidding for it. I think we'll find out. I think we'll find out in the next couple of days, who the leaders are. But it looks like it's the same Qatari group and Jim Ratcliffe. God, it's when you talk about billionaires, there's no good billionaires. And it's really kind of obviously I want the Glazers out, and I shouldn't say that on record because I do some work for Man United still, but they're going, so maybe I can get away with it.
It's a safe space. You're on a safe pod. Don't worry, Stan. Your secret's safe with us.
Yeah, but I like Sir Jim Ratcliffe purely on the fact that he is a Manchester boy. And but don't get me wrong. He's he owns a petrochemicals company who dumps shit around the world. At a massive scale, and it's kind of that's not great either. So it's kind of I don't want to cause controversy by saying anything too bad about Qataris, but we know the Qatari state track history. I don't need to repeat that. And ideally, the thing I loved the most was when the sale was announced, where people were doing memes that Apple were going to buy the club, that kind of like that made me laugh. You know what I mean? That was something like, yeah, really? If Apple bought it, I can almost I'll be happy with that. You know what I mean?
Best fit
But
possible, right?
yeah, but like but then again, it's like if it's like ultimately, if I was going to favour anyone, I'll favour probably Jim Ratcliffe. You know what I mean? And like but I also what I'm worried about is if a state does buy Man United, I mean it's purely the amount of money they'll pump into the club. Is like I'm scared that they'll try and buy all the best players. You know, I don't want Man United to buy all the best players. You know, I don't want them to be I want a kind of a sense of competition. You know, like within the leagues that we're playing. You know, it's kind of it's just be kind of like. The thing is, like, if we did what Real Madrid did like 20 years ago and bought all the Galacticos and not win anything, that would be. I mean, they only won like 2 trophies, like with Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, Figo. It's kind of like and Raul. They're like, it's incredible how little trophy silverware they won with the best players. You know what I mean? But I'll be too disappointed if we don't win anything. But also kind of like I wouldn't get the sense of actually winning anything if we won something with all the best players in the world. You know, so it's getting the balance right. You know, I mean, so yeah, it's a tricky one, and but yeah, I think like I think if Jim Ratcliffe did come in, is like I think he'll create more of a levelish playing field. You mean, and that's what we kind of want, really. I kind of want the Premier League to be a bit like the NFL. You mean, where any team can actually win. You mean, where like I don't want like well, not obviously not every team can win it in the NFL, but you know how it works. You know, it's a very kind of like it's a very socialist system that you have there.
It is.
And I feel like the Premier League should be more like that. You mean it makes winning more worthwhile. You know, that's
couldn't agree more. Especially recently, I feel like, I mean, EPL is the standalone league in Europe at the moment, but the competitiveness in the league, it's like there are no Wiggins left. You know, there are no like pushover teams. Every team, even the team in the relegation zone, is not going to be an easy match. And I don't want us to get lumped in with the cities of the world, nation state. You know, but the whole thing is, like you said, there's no benevolent billionaires sitting around with 10 billion in cash that have no kind of whatever rough around the edges. What's the word in Manchester? We're hearing like a lot of. This is the last thing we'll talk about in the sale, but like there's a lot of noise on Twitter, and Twitter ain't real life. And that it's very clear like what the preference is there. What's the feeling like for people around your neck of the woods? Is it very much like they want Jim because he's local, because he's English?
I think it's not often he's about Englishness. You know what I mean? I think that he is a local boy. You know what I mean? I think like that says a lot, really. You know, there's a definite kind of like as much as the cliche goes, there's probably less fans in Manchester than anywhere else in the world. But you'll find there's like us Manchester-based Manchester fans do like. We're quite parochial, you know. We do like, things to be kept, close to home. If you know what I mean, it's like the homegrown players. You know, the players who are from Manchester, we generally love them a bit more than any place from anywhere else, really. You know, so I think purely on the strength of the fact that Jim was born 20 miles away from the stadium is why we favour him more, to be honest with you.
Which makes sense. It's a reasonable position. And if money was no object, we have no idea who's going to buy us. If they even sell us right now, or they kick the can, that's a scenario that John and I have spoken about because it's a tough macro environment. Stocks are down. They probably should have sold it right after Chelsea did because things were still frothy. But if money was no object, what would your ideal scenario be for the next version of Old Trafford?
Oh, right, okay. You know what? If money was no object, I'd just like improve the stadium. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. It's like the stadium is knackered.
It is.
it does, and it needs millions of pounds of improvement. That's like because ultimately it's a spiritual home. You mean it's like I don't want it to kind of really move anywhere else. You mean, but I can see both sides of the argument here. You mean, I'd also love a bloody high tech, let's say a high tech modern stadium. Like it's like I can't. I mean, it's so close. You mean, it's like my heart is definitely at Old Trafford and downstairs at Busby Way. You mean, and it's a stadium that I've been going to since 1983. So I wouldn't want that to change. But if you're going to give me a super modern high tech stadium where I can go up on a lift and I can get like beers delivered to me while I'm sat down, I love that as well. You mean, but I think ultimately for me is like it depends on which can be done the quickest. Really, you mean, because it's like there's going to be disruption either way. You mean, if we can keep Old Trafford as it is now and build a new stadium at the same time, that'd be fantastic. I mean, and then move into the new stadium. but one way or another, as a fan, we're gonna have to be moving out, like somewhere to watch the game at a different stadium, and I have no idea where that stadium is going to be. It's most likely going to be Etihad,
right?
But my God, it's like nobody wants that. You know, I mean, it's like it's either Etihad or I'm trying to think the closest other stadium, which is probably like it'll be a 15,000 seater stadium where, it's like it's not going to appease anyone really. I mean, so it's a case of I think the most likely thing, in fact, the most likely thing I think is actually just thinking out loud now and whilst talking to you is like we'll probably keep playing in the stadium. They might build a new stadium somewhere else, maybe like half a mile away, and then because the idea of evacuating the fans out of United for more than for a season would be unthinkable, really. Logistically, like where the hell are you going to put us, really? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Going to the City Ground is not too attractive.
Oh God, no.
Well, as we wrap up, let's talk about the EPL quickly. Who would you rather win the title, Arsenal or City? Gotta put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'd say Arsenal because I think the main reason is that I don't want City to win 3 in a row. That's just not something I want. And with Arsenal, there's something about their team where I don't feel that they've got enough to create a legacy like Arsene Wenger did. So I'm all right with them winning this season and maybe not doing, because I feel there's something about me that I feel that team's just going to drop off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't think there's something. I don't know what it is. It feels like it's on weak foundations. You know what I mean? That club. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it feels to me at the moment. And so give Arsenal one. Let them be happy for a season, and then hopefully United will kind of come taking over, overtaking them next season.
Like old times. We'd love to see that. And as we finish up, how is Sir Alex Ferguson doing? He seems to be smiling much more these days, but I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I bumped into him let's see, when was it? It was a few months ago now. But yeah, he looked very good. He remembered who I was. So that's the important thing, really. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's doing all right. I don't think he was happy with the Liverpool game, but I don't think. But
who was?
The less we talk about the better. But he seems in good health. Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Well, Stan, as we wrap things up, please plug what you're up to these days. Let the folks know where they can check you out, your work, where they can check out some of your stuff to pick up from the shop perspective. That would be great.
Okay, well, if you just go on Twitter or Instagram, Stan_Chow, you'll find all the links from there. I can't even remember all the website names, but I've got lots of Man United shit to sell if you want to buy it. I've got Marcus Rashford prints, Bruno prints, Casemiro prints, and they're all there. I got mugs. I even got mugs. I thought I could have one to show you, but there's all sorts of unofficial nonsense that you can all have.
It's great stuff. I have the Govan Boy in my office. I have the 98-99 squad in my son's room. And Stan, you do top work. We really appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much for coming on the pod today. And I hope the rest of the season treats you well and United has even more glory to enjoy this season.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for having me again, Alex. And I'll look forward to coming back on again.
Cheers, Stan. Thanks so much.
Listen, cheers.
What an interview, sir. Great to have the legend Stan Chow on the podcast. Lots of insights on the ground in Manchester. Check him out. You can follow him on Twitter at Stan_Chow. Also check out his print shop, Legendary Prints. He also does tons of work for Manchester United as well. StanleyChow.co.uk. Legend in the game. Legend of the pod, sir. Thanks for doing it.
Appreciate it. Appreciate Stan, an illustrator that is so high up in the football world and just a proper lad as well. We really appreciated having him on, getting his perspective and all the great work and appreciated work he's done for the American Red Devils. Pick up some of his prints. They are excellent, especially if you're a United fan. And sir,
well, that's how you found him. Was the you have a poster in your office?
I have two. I got the Govan Boy, which is a poem that was written by an Irish poet that I'm forgetting his name. I think he's Irish. And Stan did the cover. He did the artwork for that of Sir Alex Ferguson, and it's a great one. It's in my office, like I mentioned, above my desk. And then I also have his the squad from 1998-99 squad list for the treble winning year. That's in my son Felix's room. Sir Stan Chow, legend of the game.
All
Pick
over
up
the
a
casa
print.
here at Alex's house.
Well, it's football and hardcore, which you love to see. And he's a proper footy fan, just like the rest of us. And he's a proper Manchester United fan because, ran out of time. Not ran out of things to say. There was so much to talk about. There always is so much to talk about around Manchester United. And we hadn't caught up for a bit. But speaking of catching up, we haven't done news in a week. We got a lot to talk about.
Let's get into some news. United in the news. From the Daily Mail, title, What Are the Glazers Playing At? At least 3 takeover bids have been submitted for Manchester United, but a chaotic process and family uncertainty has led to fears any sale won't happen.
So get into the all the bids are in. We have direct line of communication for both the Qataris, the Qatari consortium, as well as Radcliffe. Psych, they're not in. We need more time.
So I got to get my big shovel. There's a
Explain
pile
that.
of bullshit.
What was that? I'll tell you what, there's a lot of bullshit.
There's so much bullshit to shovel through here.
In footy news, but around a takeover where it's like even more closed-lipped, this is not like, club trying to buy another player and another club selling it. So there's agents involved. There's people on both sides. There's posturing here, but it's a publicly traded company. It's a whole different ball game. Give me your thoughts. It's been an entertaining week, I'll tell you that. They've been throwing a lot of shit at the wall.
It's getting a little crazy out there, I will have to say. So we got to start with some facts. Manchester United, multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company, so inside information is not going to come over Twitter. What will come over Twitter is probably people who know people who are talking to people who are trying to submit bids for Manchester United. And those people that are talking are probably like really junior. They're not real senior people in the room because if they did leak, anyone in that position would be in a lot of trouble. So you're kind of hearing things in an echo chamber. Obviously, we know when bids are due. That's not very controversial to know when they should be in, but knowing the contents of those bids, that is kind of what is controversial. Now, people saying Saudi Arabia, Qatar bid for 5.5 after they said they wouldn't bid more than 4. And then they said it's a record bid. Like, what does that mean? Nobody knows exactly how things are structured, right? So you can structure bids in so many different ways, so many different flavors. To all the lawyers, ex-investment bankers out there, you know that you could have earn-out structures. You could have, partial. You could basically buy majority of the club and value it at $5.5 billion, but not pay $5.5 billion. So the contents of what is actually in the bids, we will not know. The only people that know that is the Rain Group. The other bidders don't even know. So what we're probably getting through the press is just from the potential buyers. And the buyers are basically in the dark. because if you're the Rain Group and you're running this process, you hold all the cards, you see what everyone's paying, and you might go back and communicate to people. So it's not uncommon in a second round of a process when you're really flushing out the top horses that if, say, the Saudis come to you or Qatar and Ratcliffe come to you at the 11th hour and you're like a little low, they might tell you, hey, you're not going to get in the next round if you don't up the bid. That's why there was the confusion around the extensions and people going back to the drawing board and then giving another 12 hours. Usually that means they're either pushing on valuation or they just needed more time. It's very common to extend these deadlines. They're kind of arbitrary. It's like if you're going to submit a £6 billion bid for Manchester United and you need another 12 hours, the Glazers will give you that. It's not controversial that people are doing a lot of work. There's tons of financial analysis being done behind the scenes, source of funds, valuing the contracts, valuing the club, looking at where they could be. Not only could there be valuation pushback as well, the Glazers being like, you can't make it next round if you don't pencil this type of bid.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of noise. But that's expected at this stage of the process. So the fact that people are trying to follow this process live like they're in the room, first of all, you're not in the room. Second of all, the people you're on Twitter don't know anything. And it's all going to flush out. And this second bid is going to give you 3-4 real players, and then it's just going to be how high can you go. And we told you the number starts with a 6 here on the podcast because there's 6 kids. They all want $1 billion. It's very easy. If you want to buy an asset, know who you're buying it from, right? The Glazers have to sign on the dotted line. You want them to sell Manchester United, the largest global football brand in world football. They put it all over Davos. That's how they get into Davos. It's like they tell everyone they own Manchester United. They fly around the world as owners of Manchester United. Everyone wants to be them. You want them to give up that card. You got to pay through the nose whatever they want, and don't whinge about it in the press because all we're getting is that. So just commenting on the bid process, it should be kind of a shit show right now. Nobody knows anything. The only people that know anything are the Rain Group, and they actually cannot make any information public because that would constitute insider trading, et cetera, and that would basically violate all the security law registrations that they have. So at the end of the day, you're not supposed to know anything. People claiming to know things, that's really the problem here. The only people that are talking, maybe talking to Qatar, maybe talking to Ratcliffe, but it's all noise.
Well said, sir. And I think that's the big takeaway, especially after this week, which is this is a totally different ballgame than a player getting bought. And that's the kind of news that we're usually used to. And at the end of the day, nothing is official, nothing is legit until they release a press release, until they basically confirm that we have a deal in principle. You know, there is a lead staker. Our valuation's been met, and we're moving forward with a deal pending due diligence and whatever, antitrust, whatever, clearing it all. And right now, it's being followed like every other football story we've ever seen, which is that like, these people, these sports journalists that all of a sudden are in that room next to the lawyers, next to the accountants, and we know that's the case. So just hang in there. Like it's going to play out, no sale, full sale. I think it's going to be most likely investment, Glazers hang around the hoop, and then try to go from 6 to 10 in the next 5 to 10 years. They are getting older, but we will see what happens. Maybe that's because someone's not going to pony up to $6 billion, excuse me. We are hearing news, unconfirmed, from the same numpties are saying that the bid was on Thursday when it went on Friday, that the Qataris raised their bid to $6 billion because they are not messing around. They were told to go get a deal. Who knows? We're going to find out in the coming weeks and months. I think we thought March would have flushed it out. It's going to, you would think by April you're going to have a good idea whether this is going to sink or swim. And we'll play it by there. We'll play it by ear, one step at a time. And right now, the Glazers are still own Manchester United, and that nothing looks like that's going to change because we're only seeing more posturing that, some of the Glazers want out, but Avram wants in, and he doesn't want to, leave that mantle. That's probably because he does more flying around with a Manchester United name tag than anybody else.
I wouldn't sell it.
No.
At the end of the day, look, if I were to read the tea leaves, and that's only based on like the concrete, trying to read the smoke of everything out there, is there's a distance in the valuation. We're not hearing anything around like there's some serious bids that, are actionable here. We're hearing there's like a lot of hemming and hawing in the $5 billion range. There's Glazers holding the line on 6, which is their right to do. The idea that the Glazers are wrong to want the highest price for the asset is also insane. You know, if you're selling your house, you don't care if someone's going to buy it with debt. You don't care if someone's going to pay you in cash. You don't care where they're from. You care about the price and the terms, right? Yeah. So obviously a higher price could come with bad terms, bad, not all prices are the same on paper, right? Because there are different terms that closing conditions, etc. Anyone who has sold a house or anything like that. But the highest price is what the Glazers are. This is a capitalistic society. It's like if they want $6 billion, they don't have to sell. It's like that's their right. And unfortunately, we don't like them as owners. We want them gone. But if no one's going to meet their number, they are not going to sell the club. That should not be controversial. I don't understand why people think the Glazers owe it to the fans to sell it to Qatar because their bid's debt-free. Or they owe it to the fans to sell the club at a number less than they want to sell it. It's like if you were going to sell your house, you're literally going to sell it to the highest bidder. And if they use debt, it doesn't even matter because you get the cash.
Right.
People saying like, oh, the Qatar bid's debt-free. Glazers do not care about where the money is going to come from that is going to pay them the valuation they want to get out of the club. There's so much noise out there. If people don't know what's going on, they're misinformed. Like a debt-free bid from Qatar is like superior to Ratcliffe, who wants to use $2 billion from a hedge fund, etc. There's also another hedge fund that is offering to put money in, offering to back other bids. I think what most likely happens here, and I usually take the pessimistic view because if it goes the other way, it could be optimistic here, is the Glazers most likely use the bump in valuation to raise like $1 billion from a American hedge fund they hold on because no one's going to meet their price. And that is most likely what will happen. Now, if someone wants to pay that price, then they're gone. If someone wants to pay $6 billion, $6.5 billion, they'll sell it. Someone doesn't. Something tells me the Glazers hold the line pretty well. They like taking money out of this club. They don't care what the fans think. They don't care what Qatar thinks. They don't care what Ratcliffe thinks. They want this price and they'll hold the line at all costs. So we'll keep you posted. But this is just posturing. Deal falls apart. We've said this would happen. It's going to be longer. It's going to be more annoying. There's going to be more drama. It's going to fall apart. It's going to come together. This is how these processes always go. And even if you end up buying it, Qatar will still be pissed about how bad the process went. Or Ratcliffe will be frustrated. But they'll get there. Everyone will be exhausted. That's just how these things go. It's like a war. It's a war of attrition. War of attrition and bullshit.
Yeah, there's a sale. And I've been saying that for a while. I agree with you, sir. I think it's more than likely that they raise money at a higher valuation, hold the line, right? Like put enough cash in the coffers to keep the wheels moving, and then punt 3, 4, 5 years, however long it takes to pop that valuation up, because it is an elite asset. We love this club, but I like that analogy because it's hard. You have to take the emotional and the rational. We're all emotional about Manchester United, rightly so. We love this club, especially us sitting in this pod room. But they've never had any love for the club, and they have to view it as an investment. They're viewing it as a house. They bought a house at a discount with a lot of debt and a big mortgage, but a great house on great property, and they've let it go to shit. But it's still on Hampton's beachfront, sir. So they are going to demand top dollar because they can. And what have we learned about the Glazers over the last 18 years that would make us think that they would not do anything else besides gouge the highest price, but whatever it takes? And like
but I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't like the idea that
I'm not criticizing
the idea
them.
that
saying,
an owner would want.
Of course.
Like if I was selling a business, that the idea that I would not want the highest price and be concerned about who bought it.
I'm trying to remind people that we can't be emotional because at the end of the day, they're selling an asset. They're selling a business. They're selling a house, a very expensive house.
That's what I'm trying to say is I don't want them there. I want a better owner. But at the end of the day, it's their right to hold this club and do whatever they want with it because their daddy. Their daddy bought it for them, and that's kind of where we're at. Next bit of news here, transfer Muppetry. We're thirsty for trophies. We're hungry for signings. $100 million for Harry Kane up front.
One payment.
Here's the deal. Tottenham also rumored they need a keeper, Dean Henderson. They're interested in him. Hendo, Kane, 75. I'm there. I'm on the Harry Kane train. Obviously,
one shot,
if the
though.
Glazers are still here, the Glazer staying is going to put a whole wrinkle in the whole transfer Muppetry saga. That's the real concern is this dragging out, uncertainty in the summer.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
No
spending.
Put a glass ceiling on Ten Hag. It's not what we want. We need like another 200 million summer. We need to get people out. We need to get people in. We got to be active. We hopefully should get a new DOF with a new ownership. So I would do the Harry Kane. I like to get Hendo, value him at 20 million, something like that. Get Harry Kane in. Go again.
You got to ship Harry. Not Harry. Dino. Dino doesn't have a place at Manchester United.
You have to ship Harry Magoo.
Harry Magoo as well. There's a lot of people to ship, sir.
Bad
By the
interview.
way,
He had a bad interview this
oh
week.
my God, don't make me
Bad
start. We'll talk
interview.
about that in a second.
You know what music genre he is?
We have
He's
so
pop
many
music.
players that we also need to move. It's like we got to move Eric. What are we doing with Eric Bailly? What are we doing with Tony? It's like beyond the obvious ones like the Dean Henderson, Twanzabis of the world. It's like we got Tellis, he's on loan. We got Bailly, he's on loan. It's going to be a very active summer. And like you said, depending on how long this whole transfer, sale of the club nonsense drags, that could have a real impact on our summers, especially given who's been in charge, especially if it's the same numpties in charge this summer. They are not proactive individuals around front of office operations. They are reactive. And we saw that last summer.
They're not good at selling
Transfer
players.
No, they're not good at
And
selling
they're not
or
good at
buying.
They're not Manchester United, and this is the problem: is that our ownership is holding us back because for a decade we have not been good at buying, have not been good at selling, and that is something that is not sustainable, especially if you have the Glazers in seat, because we need the cash. You need to be selling players well, you need to be buying players well, and that will give us the limit. Now, you want to comment here? I haven't been following the Marcus Rashford drama. I don't know. We had a phone call. You and me, I see Marcus Rashford, NYC. I'm like,
Tell them what you said.
I just said, look, Marcus Rashford could go anywhere he wants, but if you got 2 weeks off, like New York City doesn't seem like a relaxing place. Beach, Miami, chilling, something like that. But like going to New York City he's like probably going out, going to the club. Sir, we lived in New York City. It's a draining environment. You go out late. You're getting into all the trouble like that, but
He's not going with the boys.
He's-
and you know what? Like
It's a late play. You stay up late in
He's
New
not
York.
playing
You eat pizza, you
He's
stay
not
up
playing
late.
next to Harry Kane or getting 15 minutes under Gareth Southgate. And New York, we grew up outside of it, went to school in it, both lived in it. It's a beast, but like if you're living top dollar and nobody knows who Marcus Rashford is in New York, which is probably another reason he likes to leave Europe on occasion.
No, I know. I just
And
like
New
to
York's
see
an
him
elite
maybe in Dubai in a cryo chamber, working out, something like that.
So he needs a break from working out because he's been playing so
Something
many
like that.
games. He needs a proper chill out. There's a
saying.
famous Grealish quote. Grealish talking about how great the ice cream sundaes are at the Plaza Hotel. Maybe he's going to the Plaza to get some ice cream sundaes. But he looks like he's having a great time. But the real story is that, like England, they love to pick on certain players in the media and absolutely destroy them. You can draw any lines you want. They have been drawn, but like they got a yucky press, bro. Like in terms of the way
I
they
think
go
that's
after
known.
players
I think it's known.
in sports. And they did it again with Marcus because also Gareth Southgate, talentless manager of England. He is a shit manager. He was criticizing Rashford. He's like, well, he can't be an important player to us if he's never available. And this is after Marcus Rashford delayed his surgery a couple years back for the Euros, and then Gareth Southgate never used him or came into the World Cup in great form. He didn't just leave the World Cup in great form. He's also in great form going in. And, he put him on with 5 minutes to go against France, or puts him on right before the penalty, and he misses the penalty because he's cold. Rightly so. Gareth Southgate is a numpty, and English press are numpties for going after Sir Marcus Rashford for just, like you said, whether the location is the right location or not. I argue that if he's with his lady
I don't
friend,
care what
he's with
the
his
English
lady
press
friend, that's
says,
going to be chill.
sir. I don't
if
care
he's
what the
going
English
with the
press
boys,
says.
if he's going with Jack Grealish to New York, that would be a worry.
No, I don't care what English press or Gareth South. Like,
It's just been big news. That's all I just said.
no, it's like whatever. They're complete idiots. I'm just saying, you know what I mean about like New York ain't relaxing.
It ain't
That's
chill.
all I'm
It
saying.
ain't
That's
chill.
all, everything's open to like 5 a.m. You're gonna be up. You're a young man like Marcus, a young man. Is gonna be up. Be like I need him recharged. ready
more
to go.
happening than Manchester.
But hey, on his form, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. I would think that's safe. All right, we got a few polls. We don't have fan questions for this podcast. We have some polls. We sent them out. What trophy do you want to win most this season? Sir, I'm going to pose the question to you. You know what the poll says, but what trophy do you want to win most? Is it Europa League or FA Cup?
I mean, I'll let you get into the actual results, but I was in the minority in this camp. I'm not giving away the actual split, but dude, I want an FA Cup more than I want a Europa League, and I'll tell you why. Because FA Cup, for me, is still the oldest cup competition in football, and I feel like there's a prestige. At least it's coming back. It's not like the EFL Cup. Like FA Cup's a proper cup, old. We won our first 1909. Real throwback, and we won the Europa League. Europa League ain't a Champions League. It's not something like, oh, I want to be stacking Europa Leagues. It's like, I want to stack FA Cups, I want to stack EPL titles, and obviously I want to build up our stack a lot higher in the Champions League category. So for me, winning at Wembley, hard to beat. Buda, rocking everywhere in Budapest for the final would also be great, but like FA Cup edges it for me.
I can't even compete with that.
I know you
what
can't.
The hell was that?
Exactly. Just go.
I like so the sounds that you make on this podcast
You're
still
welcome.
shock me. The moments that Alex brings us. Okay, so for me here, my gut says FA Cup, beat City, let's go. But like then the other side of me is like dying for those angelic voices. And something
sure
about beating Spanish teams, go into a final, and like you have to admit, like the final in Budapest versus another like up and coming European squad and winning, it's not necessarily like comp to the Champions League at all, but you're sort of getting that experience, that taste of winning in Europe that I think Manchester United craves, because I think so much of Europe just has not gone well for our club. And when Mourinho famously ranted about how, we don't have, we're not a big club in Europe, et cetera, and obviously you have the 1968.
99.
No, but 1968 post Munich air disaster, et cetera, and like the history of, we have rich European history. Trophy cabinet's a little light. So I like the Europa League. I want to probably win the Europa League, and that sets the tone. Not only does it guarantee qualification, but then you're going to play the winner of the Champions League. And I think that's another great test. So I view FA Cup, you get Community Shield. That doesn't matter to me. I think you win the Europa League, you guarantee qualification, plus you get the extra game against the winner of the Champions League. You get a taste of the European nights, and I think we need that because this team could do very well in Europe, and that's kind of where I want to see Manchester United making their mark. I always feel like United is at the top of the EPL when they're at the top of Europe as well.
No, I like your perspective as well. I don't know if I change my position. I think that's the more likely cup for us to win because we don't have to beat City. And the European
Are you afraid of City?
I'm not afraid.
You sound like you're
I'm not
afraid of City.
afraid of City.
Shaking in his boots
I
over
said,
here.
okay,
He's like
shaking
nervous.
in
This
his
guy.
boots.
I'm not worried about City at all. How about both? Let's win both. Let's get to the poll. We had 209 votes. We had 209 votes. 69.4% for the Europa League, Hans and Franz Cup. 30.6% for the FA Cup. I do agree, FA Cup, the history, etc. But I just kind of feel we need European success, and the automatic qualification kind of gets you there. Our next poll question, who is this year's most improved player at Manchester United? We had Rashford, Fred, Shaw, and Bruno listed to vote for. People also gave a shout out to AWB in the comments. So you could add AWB. You got to pick one of these 5 most improved. Who is it?
It's got to be Rashi. I mean, after the season he finished last year, it was a big step down for him. Was he carrying injuries? Nobody was in fine form, maybe other than Ronaldo. But Marcus has just been blowing us away in terms of the type of goals he's been scoring, the consistency of those goals, the hunger he's showing, and also he's taking a lot of knocks and he keeps on pushing through. I think he showed a lot of heart, and he's a hell of a player. Sign the thing. Give it this whole like, oh, we're not paying over $200K a week. It's like that fucking cat is out of the bag, bro. It's like walk that back after literally years.
That's how dumb
of playing
Arnold is and Murtaugh is.
they're
They're whoa,
we don't pay
aside
him
from
more.
all these guys making more than $200K.
Like Martial makes
going
$250,
forward, we're not
bro.
gonna
It's like,
get
well, what are you talking about? So pay Marcus Rashford whatever he needs. He's an elite striker. He's a mank. And he's the man. He's been playing great football, and he's my most improved. I do like AWB shout, but it's like another planet.
But
compared to Marcus.
AWB went from basically like
Like,
non-existent
gone to
to
useful.
like playing, but
Yeah.
not like I wouldn't say the right back spot at Manchester United is now owned and will be forever owned by him. So this has to be Rashford. The celebration pointing at his head. We saw where he was last year, yelling at the fans because they were jeering him up. He had a real low, like the lowest of lows last season. And for him to basically sort it all out and come back and find the form he's found, has to be Rashford. And you guys agreed. 77.5% for Rashford, 15.9% for Fred. I have no idea who those people are. 5.3% for Shaw.
You put it on the poll.
1.3% for Bruno. I think Shaw over Fred. Shaw has also had a strong game. And then a few shouts for AWB. Our last poll here, and this one, Alex, going to love this one. Who do you think is the Manchester United GOAT of the Premier League era?
I thought you had an omission. I'm going to go into it.
But there are. You can only put 4 on a poll.
I know, but the fourth one, I have.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Who is the Manchester United GOAT of the Premier League era? And I said in the tweet, plenty not listed below. Drop them in the comments. Number 1, Wayne Rooney. He has 253 goals. Has scored the most goals for Manchester United of any player, breaking Sir Bobby Charlton's record. Paul Scholes, who had 155 goals, and I think he's like 3rd on the all-time apps list, as well as winning like everything. And they had Ronaldo, who won the Ballon d'Or in 2008, the last Manchester United player to win the Ballon d'Or. The Ballon d'Or winner being at Manchester United. And then you had David Beckham. I put Beckham as a shout in the comments. No additional players added here. So who is the omission?
I thought for the 4th spot, like Keno had to be like the clear number 4. You know, the 90s era, he was like one of the best captains we've definitely had in the Premier League era. And he was such a killer, so integral in that side, especially as they went on to win title. First time we did 3 in a row.
Yeah, but he did, like I agree.
Over Beckham, who left, went to Real Madrid.
Yeah, but Keane ended up getting booted. The real omission for me is Giggs.
But Giggs,
all-time appearance.
He gets left off a lot of polls.
Obviously, his off-the-field antics leave him off a lot of polls here. But like
the one is Wayne. I mean, it is Wayne Rooney in my mind. He is the GOAT of the Premier League era. Probably more so because like we became fans in the mid 2000s, right? 04, 05, when he was coming on the scene. He was so integral in like any team after the treble. Like without a doubt, if it's after the treble, it's Wayne Rooney. I'm sure some hardcore old school United fans would push for a Giggs or a Keno. But what do you think, sir?
It's how do you measure GOAT? It has to, for me, it's probably Paul Scholes because just the longevity and won everything. I mean, he's part of the winning the treble. Then he's part of the, everything like he was just everywhere, always reliable, ran the midfield. I think Paul Scholes has to be it. As far as like the best player ever to play for Manchester United during that era, it's Ronaldo in 07, 08. I mean, like there's no player that was better. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's true. What it is. It's true. It's like if you like, obviously, you have troll Ronaldo. I'm gonna say he's in his troll phase right now. He's like trolling the world.
He's like digging in. I'll tell you what, he's digging in the troll village.
Really like. By the way, Saudi Arabia.
That line about the mountain, looking down the mountain. We didn't even talk about that.
We didn't talk about that. But there was no better player than that, and we hope that Marcus can win the Ballon d'Or. It's hard for English players to win it, but just getting that type of shine back at United. So for me, you have the sort of the put in a shift every day for like 800 apps, Paul Scholes for me, and then you have the best, who is the best to ever do it. That had to be Ronaldo, and then Wayne Rooney is. There's a lot to that Wayne Rooney saga, with him trying to leave and he kind of
and then did leave.
No, obviously, but. He did break the goal record, but I felt there was sort of, his legend has kind of grown over time. I think he's like a fine wine. He just gets better and better, considering like, what he was up to during that
time. He's having a good time.
What he was having a great time. And scoring 253 goals for United.
Dirty dog.
I don't disagree with I think if you did the vote, closer to 12, 13, you might have Scholes, Ronaldo. Now, Wayne Rooney, he's gotten better with age.
Oh, well said. There you go. I love the polls, sir. I love to see what the fans think. It's always a little bit of controversy.
I didn't go into the percentages here. So Wayne Rooney, 74%. Paul Scholes 11%, Ronaldo 13%, and then Beckham 1.4%. No one commented Roy Keane. But again, thanks for everyone interacting. It's been a hell of an international break. United States men's national team beat Grenada like 7-2, I think, in a game that doesn't matter.
Who
Nobody
managed?
cares. The U.S. team is in limbo until we have a real manager. But look, having a great international break. Again, amazing interview from Stan Chow, sir. We just need to grab our top downloads here in the last couple of days. And, the Ronaldo comment about being on a mountain and looking down below or something.
I'll tell you what, it was not helpful. It came off a little narcissistic.
Commenting about how great the Saudi Arabia League is like,
That's the
you're getting
best.
paid.
That's
You're
the
getting
best.
paid a lot
He's
of money to say that. All right,
it's
so you're
going
going
to be
to
one of the best leagues in the world in 5, 6, 7 years.
I'm sure, yeah, it's not going to
Stan
get
had
any
a great
hotter.
quote. He's like, you mean 567 years? like,
exactly,
how long?
yeah.
All right, number one, how you doing? New York, New York. Los Angeles, California, London, England, Dublin, Ireland, Chicago, Illinois, Melbourne, Australia, Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, San Francisco, California, and last but not least, Orlando, Florida. We appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. Couldn't do without you. I cannot wait for Manchester United to come back. Come back. We cannot wait for that. A lot of games coming thick and fast when we return. Sir, we do what we want.
What we want, we'll do what